Here we are going to end with y, which y they told us must equal to 2x minus 1 times x plus 3. Or y will be the product of the answer that we get in the first bracket times or multiplied by what we get in the second bracket, which is x plus 3. But now, how are we going to get the answer here? How shall we get the answer there? How shall we get the answer there? They are telling us, get the value of 2x, subtract a 1, and you have the value there. But our first value of x is a negative 4. So we are going to get our 2x minus a 1, which is the same thing as saying a 2 times a negative 4. Then after we subtract a what? A 1. But 2 times negative 4 gives us a negative 8. Negative 8 here. Then subtract a what? A 1. But negative 8 minus 1 gives us a negative 9. I hope we are together, viewers. So which means that here we have a negative 9. How about the next one? We shall still say negative 3 times 2 to give us a negative 6. Negative 6 minus 1 to give us a negative 7. Negative 2 times 2 to give us a negative 4. Negative 4 minus 1 to give us a negative 5. Good. Negative 1 times 2 to give us a negative 2. Negative 2 minus 1 to give us a negative 3. I hope we are moving together. We are substituting. We are replacing the values of x, which we wrote up there. The next one is a 0. Where there is x, that's why you put the value of x. Now, in this case, we are having 0. 0 times 2, what do you get? You get 0, not 0, 2. You get a 0. Now, 0 minus 1, what do you remain with? You get a negative 1. That is very clear. Now we are bringing in the 1. 1 times 2 to give us a 2. 2 minus 1 to give us a what? 2 minus 1 to give us a what? To give us a 1. Like that. After that, we are now moving down. We are through with that row. We are now moving to the next row. We are substituting. We are just replacing the values of x. Where x is, we pick a value, put it there. Pick a value, put it there. Pick a value, put it there. Up to when we are done with that row. And then we continue with the next row. Now, x plus 3. What is our first value of x? Our first value of x is a negative 4. But, remember we are having x plus 3. Which will equal to, the first value is a negative 4 plus a 3. Negative 4 plus 3, what do you get? You get a negative 1. Very good. You come and write it there. The next one is a negative 3. Negative 3 plus 3. What do you get? You get a 0. You write the 0 there. Negative 2. Negative 2 plus 3. What do you get? You get a positive 1. Wonderful. Negative 1. Negative 1 plus 3. Negative 1 plus 3. What do you get? A 2, which is a positive. You write it there. A 0, 0, 0 plus 3. What do you get? You get a 3. You also write it there. And lastly, a 1, 1, 1 plus 3 to give you a 4. You write the 4 also there. I hope we are moving together. Now, Mr. Examiner, sir, we have not yet got the value of y. But they told us to get the value of y, you get the answer you got in the first bracket, you multiply it by the answer you get in the second bracket. The answer in the first bracket is this one. The answer in the second bracket is that one. Negative 9 times negative 1. We are having a negative 9 times a negative 1. First of all, a negative times a negative gives you a positive. So you have a positive there. A 9 times a 1 gives you a 9. Which means negative 9 times negative 1 gives you a 9 there. Hey, we are moving. Obonyo Kenneth still on Google the TV. We are moving it together. Now, negative 7 times 0, you get your 0. Negative 5 times 1, you get your negative 5. Negative 3 times 2, you get your negative 6. Are we together? Negative 1 times 3 to give you a negative 3. And lastly, a 1 times a 4 to give you a 4. We are now through with our table of results. But again, Mr. Examiner, sir, some students out there might not be knowing the factorized approach. For them, they might be knowing the expanded approach. Let us try it out. Suppose it was the other way around. Suppose it was the expanded approach. Because some people might not be knowing exactly how to use the approach where you have 2 brackets. What do we do, Mr. Examiner, sir? So that we may not lose our marks. We need to pass our exams in the year 2020. What do we need to do? I could be in senior 3, I don't know what to do. I could be in senior 4, I might not be knowing what to do. What do I do? Alternatively, viewers, of course you're not supposed to use both methods. But remember, we can get the 2x minus 1, the 2x minus 1, and the x plus 3. And we do what? We expand them. Expanding simply means to open the brackets. Let us see what we get when we open the brackets. 2x will come first into the second bracket, which is x plus 3. And then lastly, we bring in the negative 1. The negative 1 still into x plus 3, which is that. Now, we need to multiply. We are expanding. We want to see whether the factorized form and the expanded form are the same. We want to see whether when I use the expanded form and when I use the factorized form, I still come to the same graph, which might bring me to the same answer. Now, viewers, without wasting time, we need to get chalk and go ahead. This will equal to 2x times x to give us a 2x squared. Plus 2x times 3 to give us a 6x. Minus 1 times x to give us an x. A negative times a positive to give us a negative. And then a 1 times a 3 to give us a 3. We are collecting like terms. This will equal to a 2x squared. 6x minus x will leave us with a 5x minus a 3. Now I think you can see 2x squared plus 5x minus 3 is the same as 2x minus 1 times x plus 3. And it reminds us that in the question that the examiner gave us, he talked about using our graph to solve 2x plus 5x minus 6. But this is almost related to this. Now, suppose we had used the factorized form. Let us see what we get. Mr. Examiner, sir, I'm just trying out plan B to see whether they give me the same answer. If I'm using plan B, let me see very fast. Of course, Mr. Examiner, I don't need all of them. I want to show the students what exactly is required here. The values still start with x, and the first value of x is a negative what? A negative 4. And then a what? A negative 3. And then a what? A negative 2. And then a what? A negative 1. And then a what? A 0. And then finally a 1. We are now using the expanded format. The first value, 2x squared, we give it a home. 2x squared. The next one is a 5x. We also give it a 5x. And then lastly, we are having a minus 3. We also give it a room here, a minus 3. And then lastly, finally, we have y. We start with the x and end with the y. We are substituting. We want to see whether these two tables are the same. 2x squared simply means substitute the value of x, which is a negative 4. Negative 4 squared simply means negative 4 times negative 4, which gives us a positive 16. 16 times 2, we get a 32. Very fast. Negative 3 squared is a negative 3 times a negative 3, which is a 9. 9 times 2, what do you get? You get 18. Negative 2 squared is a negative 2 times a negative 2, which is a 4. 4 times 2, you get an 8. Negative 1 squared is a negative 1 times a negative 1, which is a 1, times a 2, you have a 2. 0 squared is a 0 times a 0, which is a 0, times a 2, you remain with your 0. 1 squared, this one here, is a 1 times a 1, which is a 1. A 1 times a 2, you get a 2. We are through with the first row. We are now continuing with the second row. The second row says 5x. 5 times the value of x. Our first value of x is a negative 4. 5 times negative 4, you get a negative 20. 5 times negative 3 to give you a negative 15. 5 times negative 2 to give you a negative 10. 5 times negative 1 to give you a negative 5. 5 times 0 to give you a 0. 5 times 1 to give you a 5. We are using method 2. We are using the second approach. The first approach was the factorized approach. The second one is the expanded approach, using the same equation. Negative 3, we don't have any value of x here, which means it is a constant. If it is a constant, it remains the way it is. So negative 3, negative 3, negative 3, negative 3, negative 3, negative 3, negative 3. To get the value of y, they told us, get 2x squared, add on the answer for 5x and subtract 3. Which means instead of multiplying, we are now going to add. Now, 32 plus negative 20, what do you get? You get a 12. 12 plus negative 3, what do you get? You get a 9. The same as we got there. We got a 9, even here we have a 9. 18 plus negative 15, you get a 3. 3 plus negative 3, you get a 0. The same answer. 8 plus negative 10, you get what? What do you get? 8 plus negative 10, I get my negative 2. Negative 2 plus negative 3, I get my negative 5. Which we also got there. A 2 plus a negative 5, I get my negative 3. Negative 3 plus negative 3, I get my negative 6. What we got there? A 0 plus a 0, you get a 0. A 0 plus a negative 3, you get your negative 3. A 2 plus a 5, you get a 7. A 7 plus a negative 3, you get a 4. So viewers, I told you this is Obonyo Kenneth, taking you in O-level mathematics. We are looking at quadratic equations. We are looking at the quadratic graph. We were testing whether if we used the factorized format and if we use the expanded format, we come to the same answer. We have the same values here, the same values here, there. We multiply, we add. Now we understand the two approaches. We are going to get our coordinates, go direct to the graph. We plot it and ensure that we join the corresponding points and get our smooth curve. This is Obonyo Kenneth Live on Google the TV, sponsored by the e-learning teachers project Uganda, as well as Trinity SS Naweru. Allow me to send greetings to the following people. Nsumuga Samuel, I know you're there laughing so much. Asieno Maggie, I cannot forget you. Yupo, thank you so much for concentrating on your books. Thank you indeed. You need to read hard. And Julian Jill Abia, also thank you so much for concentrating on your books. Now, we are heading to the graph. This is my x-axis, Mr. Examiner Star, and that is my y-axis. This is up to -1. I'm drawing the graph depending on the scale and the coordinates that I got from the table of results. And this is what I have. My graph needs a bigger part to be on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, I don't need much. Because on the right-hand side, when you look at my x values, these are my coordinates that I picked out. A -4 and a 9, a -3 and a 0, a -2 and a -5, a -1 and a -6, a 0 and a -3, a 1 and a 4. Now, when you look at the x-axis, we have a -4, a -3, a -2, a -1, a 0, a 1. That's why I'm having a 1 on the other side. This is a 1. Don't be mistaken and think that is a -1. It is a 1. And then x on the left-hand side, I'm having up to -4, which is up to here. Then up on the y-axis, my highest value is a 9. And then down, my lowest value is a -6. So you can even add on and go up to -7. It's okay, no problem. No one will arrest you. Now, we need to plot. We need to plot a pair of coordinates at a time. The first pair is a negative 4 and a 9. So we are going to have negative 4 on the x-axis and then a 9 up. This is negative 4 and then our 9. We come here, we have our point there. We mark it. That is our point. Negative 3 and 0. A negative 3 and a 0. We can have our point there. And then we mark it. Then we have a negative 2 and a negative 5. A negative 2 and then a negative 5 down. A negative 2 and then a negative 5 there. Then a negative 1 and a negative 6. A negative 1, a negative 1, a negative 1, and then a negative 6 down. We have it there. Then we have a 0 and a negative 3. A 0, we don't move any distance, then negative 3 downwards. We have that point there. We are moving forward. Mr. Examiner, sir, we are plotting the coordinates that we got from our table of results. Now, we are concluding with a what? A 1 and a 4. A 1 and a 4. A 1, and then a 4. My 4 is here. Good. So, those are the points that I was supposed to have plotted. Mr. Examiner, we said that a good graph, a good quadratic graph, a good curve, you must join the corresponding points using your free hand. It would be wrong for you to use a ruler. For example, getting a ruler and joining these 2 points. Joining using a ruler. No. You are supposed to use your free hand. You are supposed to practice as many times as possible so that you are perfect. Now we are going to join that point to that point. I'm going to come. Mr. Examiner, sir, I come and join. I move down. I move down. I continue. I'm now preparing for negotiation. The curve is reaching its lowest point, its turning point, its minimum. I must negotiate smoothly. Even you, when you're walking on the way and you decide to corner, do you corner like this once? Of course you don't. You go, you prepare for negotiation. You negotiate slowly so that it is a smooth negotiation. It's exactly what we do here. So now I'm preparing for negotiation, Mr. Examiner, sir. I negotiate. I'm negotiating, Mr. Examiner. I'm moving up now. The curve has changed direction. I'm moving up. I'm going to the last point up like this. I have my curve. Now, Mr. Examiner, what is remaining is I need to baptize my curve. I need to give it its name. The name of the curve was y is equivalent to 2x minus 1 times x plus 3. That is my curve. Mr. Examiner, sir, that is my curve. That is my curve. Very good. You can see the minimum point. The minimum point you have to prepare early to negotiate. Now, what is the examiner saying? The examiner is saying, after drawing the graph, go ahead and do what? And solve the given equations. But before we solve any equation, we need to write our scale. Our scale is supposed to be on the top right-hand corner of the graph that we have drawn. So we come here and write it. Mr. Examiner, sir, our scale. Our scale. We have the vertical scale. Vertical scale, we have used every 1 centimeter representing 1 unit. Good. And then on the horizontal scale, we are having every 2 centimeters also representing 1 unit. Good. That is our scale on the top right-hand corner of the graph. Now, Mr. Examiner, sir, we need to go ahead and break down our scale because it is going to be very important using it when we are solving the equations. Mr. Examiner, sir, 1 centimeter to 1 unit simply means 1 centimeter is representing 1 unit. But in every 1 centimeter, there are 5 squares. So we say 5 squares are still representing 1 unit. When I divide by 5, every 1 square, Mr. Examiner, sir, will represent 1 divided by 5, which is 0.2 units. I'm going to need that in the near future. How about on the horizontal scale? I'm having 2 centimeters representing 1 unit. Remember the examiner said use a suitable scale. Every 2 centimeters have 10 squares. Because 1 centimeter has 5 squares, if there are 2 centimeters, those are 10 squares. 10 squares, Mr. Examiner, sir, are representing 1 unit. Divide by 10, divide by 10. Every 1 square will represent 0.1 units. Good. So that is what I have now. Like that. Now after that, what does the examiner want? The examiner wants us to go ahead and use our graph to solve the equations 2x squared plus 5x minus 6 equaling to 0. The examiner wants us to solve.